Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Mike Slinkard. This week, we head to Nevada, where my good friend Andy Day and I were fortunate enough to draw early season archery tags for mule deer in a great area of the state. You know, I've been trying to draw this area for the last 4 years, and by putting in together, Andy and I were finally able to beat the draw odds. As a result, we're looking forward to chasing those big trophy early season velvet bucks that this area is so famous for. If you've ever hunted wide open desert country for mule deer, you know it's never easy. But on top of that, I was still recovering from rotator cuff surgery, which added to the challenge. I had to shoot a much lighter draw weight, which would limit my shooting capability substantially. All in all, it was a great adventure, and no matter what happens, we'll show it all right here on Hunting with HECS.
Hunting is about getting close. Really close. Get closer than you ever thought was possible.
When you have a cameraman and you setting out in a dirt field like this, you can get away with so much with this HECS on.
I've got to give credit once again to HECS.
We showcase the science of getting close right here on Hunting with HECS.
Hunting with HECS is brought to you by PSE Archery. Tough Country, American values forged in steel. Ozonics, undetectable, undeniable. Victory Archery, the Carbon Arrow experts. BumpersDirect.com. Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, we call the game. Tacticam, share your hunt. Warren Winches. Trophy Properties and Auction. And HECS Stealth Screen, the evolution of concealment.
Well, if you've ever hunted western mule deer, you know it usually involves a lot of glassing. This is big country, and the deer are generally clustered in just a few certain areas. If you don't know where those areas are, you could literally walk for miles and never see a deer. It's generally way more productive to glass from high vantage points until you find a good buck, then wait till he beds down and begin your stalk. This year, Nevada had got a lot of rain, so things were really green, and the deer were in places they wouldn't have been on a normal dry year. This caused the deer to be scattered over a much wider area. But by glassing early morning and late afternoon, we were soon able to get our eyes on several decent bucks. Well, Andy and I were both hunting, but we were only hunting one at a time. That way, whoever wasn't hunting could stay on the scope and give signals to the hunter as they approached the bedded buck. This morning, Andy was on the spotting scope, and I was slipping in on a good buck that we had watched bed in the shade of a rock outcropping. These are the thing when you're stalking. These are little stocking covers. They are fleece. They're on the bottom of your shoes. Make you walk super quiet. The buck's just right down here around the hill, so we are suiting up and away we go. He'll almost always have the wind in his favor and a good view of anything coming up from below. This is true stalk hunting at its finest, and closing into bow range of a mature bedded muley buck is one of the most difficult challenges in bow hunting. But you know what? I really love it. After almost an hour, I was finally closing in on this deer, and I knew he was just around the corner. So I slowly moved forward, glassing as I went, in hopes of seeing an antler tip to confirm his exact location. Andy was videoing everything through the phone scope from his perspective as well. One thing that's always hard to judge from a distance is how much vegetation and brush is going to be in the way when you get in close. In this instance, it looked like it was wide open from across the valley where we originally spotted the buck. But when we got there, my only shot angle had a brush clump between me and the deer. Well, this buck is less than 40 yards away right now, but with the bush in the way, I can't see him well enough to tell for sure where I needed to aim. After assessing the situation, I believe my only option was to slip out to my right in the open and try to get a clear shot around the bush. I'm only 32 yards out now and standing in the wide open, and still the deer hasn't moved. Well, as the old saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Even with HECS, a big old buck like this will only take so much pressure, and this one had hit his limit. I came to full draw when I saw him standing up, but he was moving immediately. He was close, so I tried to rely on my old moving target training from back in my ESPN and Buckmaster shooting days. I instinctually led him and pulled through the shot, but unfortunately, it was a clean miss. This is where this buck was laying here in the shade of this rock. As you can see, we came around this hill right here, and we were in plain sight of this buck. He's laying there. I moved all the way around that green sarvisberry bush. As you can see, we were in the open to the buck. My only problem was in this deep shade, I just couldn't see where to aim. You know, I kind of knew the direction he was laying, but you know, kind of knowing doesn't really cut it. I needed to see where I needed to put that arrow. But the big thing is he was laying here and he could see us moving right here at about 32 yards. And had I been able to see the side, I would have got a shot at him laying in his bed. That's a real rare deal with mule deer. Doesn't happen very often, but with HECS, happens a lot more often.
Hi, I'm Bill Epperts, and I'm very fortunate to be in the hunting industry and hunt all over the world. And one thing that's really made me successful over the years is the HECS technology. And it's allowed me to take 18 Grand Slams of turkeys, 2 World Slams, the Big 5 in Africa with a bow, also all the animals in New Zealand. And one thing that I think that really helps me, and I preach this in my seminars, is the HECS technology really works. It allows me to get away with more movement, and the animals do not seem to detect me in any way. So the next time you go out in the field, make sure you check out HECS technology.
We have some amazing mule deer action coming up right after this. Welcome back to Hunting with HECS. This week we are in Nevada in pursuit of trophy mule deer. The guys have spotted several good bucks and have already had a few close calls. Now let's get back to the hunt.
Well, Andy and I had been spotting bucks every day, but we were in a great area, so we were being picky and holding out in hopes of spotting some bigger deer. On this particular morning, I watched a great buck bed in the shade of a rock outcrop, and Andy decided that he wanted to try for him. This was a really nice buck, but I had forgotten my phone scope, so I just held my cell phone out and attempted to video the action from my angle. After more than an hour of swinging in a wide circle around the buck to get the wind in his favor, Andy was finally ready to start closing the distance. Andy's approach was going to allow him to keep a low rock outcropping between him and the deer until he was well within bow range. As he slipped into the last bit of cover between him and the buck, Andy finally spotted antlers only 40 yards away. Well, Andy has a clear view of the deer's vitals from his angle, but he's going to have to take 2 steps out into the open to clear the edge of the brush between him and the deer. Well, now it's decision time. Andy has to decide whether to hang quiet and wait for the buck to stand up calmly on his own as he repositions to get out of the midday sun, or risk moving into position now and try to get a shot. When Andy felt the wind swirl and hit the back of his neck, he knew he may have only seconds before this buck got his wind and blasted out of the area. That made the decision easy, so Andy moved out into the open to take a shot. It worked perfectly.
Man, this is great. I am so tickled this morning that I shot this buck. I was off glass another spot, and Mike bedded this buck down, and he told me to come over and showed me where he was at, and we went down and made a good stalk on him and got within about 40 yards, and the wind started swirling. I couldn't wait for him to completely stand up, so I had to trust my HECS and my PSE bow, and I took a couple steps out and took the shot, and here we are.
Brand new from HECS is a completely redesigned camo suit featuring a versatile action cut that is perfect whether worn as an underlayer or over top of other hunting gear. It comes complete with 3 pieces: pant, shirt, and head cover. Available in the newest Mossy Oak pattern, Elements Terra, as well as Mossy Oak Country. We started with a revolutionary HECS mesh fabric. It is extremely lightweight and breathable fabric that is soft, silent, and comfortable. Of course, it has the patented HECS technology woven right in. Features include a new, durable, super comfortable 1.5-inch wide elastic waistband, shirt pocket, pants pocket, and convenient thumb holes. Accessories are sold separately and include the HECS technology woven into each one. They include the HECS hat in matching camo patterns. HECS gloves are made of a lightweight material and are also available in camo. The new multi-rag is a versatile face mask that can be worn in a variety of ways. And finally, we have the HECS socks. They are a heavyweight, over-the-calf sock, and just like the other accessories, the HECS grid is woven right into the material. Order right now and use the promo code to save $30 on your order of a complete HECS suit. Learn more about our full line of clothing and accessories, as well as our fit guarantee for worry-free ordering at HECSLLC.com. The mule deer action continues right after this. Welcome back to Hunting with HECS. We're in Nevada this week with host Mike Slinkard and his good friend Andy Day. The pair have drawn tags in a coveted trophy mule deer unit, and after several close encounters, Andy is the only one who has notched a tag. Now let's get back to the action.
Well, the days were slowly ticking off on our deer hunt, and I was starting to feel some pressure to make something happen. My sights originally were set only on a good buck, and I'd passed several really nice deer in the process. But as time ticked away, I realized I'd probably have to lower my standards if I wanted to take home some deer steaks on this trip. When we spotted a decent 4x4 bedded under a long stretch of rim rock across a canyon, I decided to give it a shot. It wasn't long before I was coming up over the top of the rim and just above the buck. Well, the problem with this scenario is that any rock overhang is going to obscure my view of the deer from above. Not to mention keeping my shadow from appearing on top and alerting the buck to my presence. Well, the rock was crumbly and noisy, so I had to move really carefully. Not to mention I'm right on the edge of a sheer drop, and one misstep would end my hunting career forever. Well, I'm moving back and forth trying to find a place where I can see the buck below me. Then I spot him moving off to my right. Well, I knew that there was a break in the rock only a few yards away, so I quickly moved in that direction and peeked over. As luck would have it, the buck had stopped in a clear shooting lane. Well, what should have been a chip shot turned out to be a clean miss. To say that I was shocked and disappointed would have been a big understatement. Well, I had shoulder surgery just 12 weeks earlier, and I wasn't really supposed to be drawing my bow, let alone hunting. I'd reduced my draw weight to just 50 pounds, and I'd also reduced the physical weight of the bow itself. Fortunately, I was using my PSE Carbon Air, which is inherently light, and that was really helping. I could shoot 1 or 2 arrows pretty accurately in practice before the weakness in my shoulder took over, so I rationalized that that was all I was going to need to get a deer shot. Unfortunately, I hadn't thought through as much as I should have about shooting at severe angles or the stress that just holding the bow was placing on my shoulder. When I got to full draw on this buck, my arm was extremely unstable, and I tried to make the best shot I could, but you all saw the result.
Well, I tell you, that was a straight up rookie move. We made a great stalk on this buck. So much fun hunting them under these rims. They shade up, but it's one of the most difficult situations you're gonna find as far as shooting goes. But still, the buck actually got up and was changing beds. He was right under me. Actual distance is 19 yards, my cut, and I needed to shoot it for 13. What that translates in is put your 20-yard pin on and shoot. That's all I needed to do. I actually had all my pins up and down that buck's back. He was straight down on him. And unfortunately, I just shot it out to the left. So it's last day. Well, tomorrow's last day. We have one morning to hunt, and then we're out of here. So it's pretty likely in this situation that that's it. Very tough hunting. Deer are far and few between. And we're just gonna go look for another one and hope to get lucky. But man, disappointed on that one.
The newest addition is our base layer. The base layer is a lightweight, semi-thermal material designed to be worn under your regular hunting clothing when you need just a little bit of extra insulation. It features the patented HECS technology woven right into the material. The suit comes in 3 pieces: pants, shirt, and head cover. The shirt is a quarter-zip Henley with serge stitching, embroidered HECS logo, and thumb holes. The form-fitting pants have serge stitching throughout, and an elastic waistband and cuff ensure they stay in place. They also feature a convenient fly. The head cover has a hemmed eye hole, adjustable drawstring in the back, and is very easy to use. Additional accessories are sold separately and include the HECS hat, gloves, and our new heavyweight over-the-calf sock. Brand new for this year is the new multi-rag. This versatile face mask can be worn in a variety of ways. Order the HECS base layer right now and use the promo code PURSUIT to save an instant $30 on your order of a complete HECS suit. Learn more about our complete line of clothing and accessories, as well as our fit guarantee for worry-free ordering at hexhunting.com.
We'll see if Mike can pull it all together right after this. Welcome back to Hunting with HECS. This week has been a roller coaster of highs and lows as host Mike Slinkert and his good friend Andy Day pursue trophy mule deer in Nevada. We've seen some great stalks so far, but time is slowly running out for Mike, who still needs to make it happen.
Well, shoulder pain or not, we were finally down to the last day. And on a tip from a local predator trapper, we found ourselves glassing a sage flat for a small group of bucks that he told us was hanging in that area. Well, sure enough, it wasn't long before we spotted a big 3x3 buck and some does. They bedded down right in the middle of some tall sagebrush.
All right, here we go again. We've got a nice 3-point buck, pretty high, decent deer. He's bedded in the sage over here. He's got a couple does with him. So it's going to be a very technical stalk. It's really high sagebrush. So we're just going to have to try to get in there, and hopefully we can see something to shoot at. It's going to be tough, but we'll give it a try.
Well, just getting into archery range meant a long stalk in view of the bedded deer. Yet, by wearing HECS, we were able to pull that off. Now the problem became trying to find a shooting lane through the sage. I could see the deer, but I knew there was no way I was going to thread an arrow through that jungle of twigs between me and that buck. Well, I decided to just wait him out and hope that he'd get up and move out of the sun and give me an opportunity. Well, this seemed like a sound strategy at first, but as the minutes turned into hours, the hot sun began taking its toll and my shoulder began to ache. And after 3.5 hours, I finally had to admit that I had to come up with another plan. Moving closer really wasn't an option. While I was standing there, I spotted a doe bedded right in front of me about 20 yards and another off to my right about 15. All of them had laid there and let us walk right into the middle of them. Even if I could get closer, I still didn't know if I'd even have a clear shot. I really needed that buck to stand, so I decided to break my own rule and throw a little rock. Well, at the sound, both the buck and the doe stood up, but all I could see of the buck was his head, so I had no shot. Also, instead of running like you'd expect, the buck simply laid back down. The doe didn't even seem to be looking at me, and she was focused off to the side. You can clearly see that I'm in the wide open just standing here, and even when I let my bow down, the doe just doesn't seem to care. When she walked over to the buck, I expected him to stand again, but he didn't. You can see me moving here in plain view of the deer. Then a phenomenon that we see time and time again where in HECS technology happened. The doe actually approached us closer, trying to figure out what I am. With no electrical signal, she's confused about what I am, even though I'm literally in plain sight. Eventually, she walks right in front of me and lays down again just off to my right. So after all that and all the deer again laying comfortably, I decide to throw another rock. This time, the doe that's 15 yards from me has enough and heads out. Unbelievably, the buck still doesn't give me a shot. To be honest, HECS was probably working a little too well and the buck was feeling pretty comfortable. So once again, I pick up a rock, and this time I send it straight towards the buck. Well, this time he jumps forward and stops to look things over. Unfortunately, he stops behind another tall sage, so I still don't have a shot. Luckily, he's still calm, and when he begins to walk, I manage to stop him in a shooting lane. Once again, what should have been a chip shot for me was another clean miss. With my shoulder injury, I just couldn't hold my bow on target like I needed to, especially after standing there for so long.
We were right on that buck. 3 hours and 45 minutes. We sat within 20 yards of the doe, 30 yards of the buck. Finally, I'm leaving today. I had to make something happen. I broke the golden rule, never ever throw a rocket when you're trying to get deer to stand up, but I was desperate. I threw a rock, you saw that doe walk right about. Like I said, you can't make this stuff up. HECS works way better than my shooting. I'm 12 weeks after shoulder surgery right now, and it was pretty sketchy. I'm shooting real lightweight, but I had to draw 3 times, and the pin was just all over, and unfortunately I shot right over that buck's back.
Did you know that electroreception gives many animals, birds, and fish the ability to sense the electrical field given off by other living things? It was first studied in saltwater species like rays, sharks, and lobsters, but has since been observed in mammalian species as well. HECS technology blocks our electrical field and makes us less detectable to animals.
Well, this trip was a double-edged sword for me. On one side, I got to enjoy some great experiences with good friends, and I had some great HECS encounters that allowed me to successfully complete multiple stalks on some great bucks. But on the other side was the frustration of not being able to notch my tag after multiple opportunities. But you know, when all was said and done, that's what HECS technology is all about. It allows us to get away with things that we would have thought impossible only a few short years ago, and it makes opportunities where none would have existed without it. If you don't yet own HECS technology, I'd strongly encourage you to go online or give us a call and start increasing your own opportunities in the field. Just like what you've seen here, it can be the decisive advantage when you get in close. In the meantime, I'm going to get my shoulder healed up, and we'll keep pushing the limits and bringing it to you each week, right here on Hunting with HECS.
If you have an amazing HECS encounter you'd like to share, give us a call or go online. If we use it on the air, you'll be in the running to win an exciting hunting trip with a HECS crew. You can find out more on our website at hexllc.com. While you're online, make sure to take a minute and check us out on our social media sites as well.